Good afternoon, guys. I know, a lot of Gary and the SEC coverage today, but it's all relevant, guys, and it's stuff you need to know. All right. So, Rosalind Layton, with her latest article, she says after so many failed lawsuits against the wrong crypto targets, while massive frauds went unchecked, will the SEC be held accountable? My latest piece. So, let's get into it, guys. Stop ignoring the SEC's malfeasance on crypto. SEC chairman of both parties, Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler, have asserted regulatory power over digital assets and blockchain. They pursued a erroneous regulation by enforcement policy to punish investors like innovators, not investors, innovators like Ripple, Library, Grayscale, and Coinbase. While they coddled criminals like SBF, courts have pushed back, but only in those cases where litigations have the resources to fight the SEC. But there is no recourse for victim companies or individuals. The SEC is still immune to civil liability, what U.S. House Rep Todd Tiart calls appalling bad faith. Only Congress or the White House can stop the SEC's legal runaway regulatory train. Publicly available evidence points to rampant conflicts of interest and ethical questions around senior SEC officials Clayton and former Director of Corporation Finance Will Hinman were revealed to have financial incentives to favor Ethereum over the rival network XRP. And the two officials moved to give the former a regulatory pass and file a blockbuster lawsuit against the latter on Clayton's final day in office. Full disclosure, I filed a legal motion to compel the release of some of those documents which exposed Hinman's conflicts. Gensler met with Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, while the latter was carrying out what U.S. Attorney Damian Williams calls one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. But Gensler hadn't put FTX under anything like the non-fraud civil wrecking ball he unleashed on the small New Hampshire-based startup Library. The SEC dragged Library through years of interrogations over its native token LBC, while an anguished CEO Jeremy Kaufman told a judge he did everything to comply with confusing rules the SEC wouldn't explain. The eventual lawsuit bankrupted the company. This injustice moved SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce to issue a public statement blasting the agency's scorched earth approach that was completely out of proportion to any investor harm. Ripple weathered the SEC's regulation by enforcement strategy because it had $100 million in reserve to cover the legal costs. The litigation exposed the SEC's thin case was against Ripple for its sale of XRP token. Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn scolded the SEC for its hypocrisy in failing to show faithful allegiance to the law, as it repeatedly ignored her paternal orders. Or sorry, paternal pretrial. Her pretrial. I read that too fast. Ignored her pretrial orders. Now I've lost where I was. Sorry, guys. Her pretrial orders and dragged out proceedings. Judge Annalisa Torres, in her verdict, slammed the SEC's made up legal theory that XRP could itself be a security and gave the agency unlimited power to regulate it, vindicating some 75,000 retail XRP holders who had entered the case against the SEC, but they shouldn't have had to fight their own government after all. The job of the SEC is to protect investors, not to abuse them. Sadly, SEC's misbehavior continues. The General Accounting Office slammed the SEC for issuing a staff accounting bulletin in 2022 that appeared to let custodians tell custodians, sorry, to double count digital asset liabilities on their balance sheets. This scared financial services companies away from any crypto adoption and caused extraordinary damage to the crypto industry, according to Jake Chervinsky of the Blockchain Association. The GAO found that the SEC issued the guidance illegally by not submitting it to Congress. The SEC also rejected Grayscale's investments repeated applications for a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund for reasons that have no legal basis. A federal three-judge panel said as much in the unanimous decision, saying the rejection of a Grayscale application was arbitrary and capricious. And ordered the agency to review it again and apply the law faithfully. There is no excuse for the SEC's lawlessness. The buck should stop with President Biden. And I agree 100% that the buck should stop with Biden. But what do you guys think about this? Like, at any point, are we going to see any level of accountability? There needs to be consequences for the actions of these non-elected bureaucrats that come in and start doing this kind of thing, right? Nobody voted for you, Gary, right? You're not a politician. You don't make rules. You know, your rules have to be passed through Congress like everybody else. But he's just ignoring the Republicans in Congress. So it'll be interesting to see. This man needs to suffer consequences for his actions, in my opinion. What's funny is that he apparently plans in the future on running for Congress and wants the Treasury job in the White House. Like, who's going to vote for you now, bro? Like, you have completely. What's going to happen with Gensler is at some point he will either resign or be removed, or his time will run out, right? In there. I believe his time runs out like at the end of next year or something like that. But I digress. And then what will happen is Gary will slowly just kind of disappear for a couple of years till everyone forgets about all this damage that he's causing, this wrecking ball that he's like a bull in a china shop, destroying absolutely everything. And, you know, like everyone will forget about his actions and then he'll come back and run for something. Likes to go nuts whenever you're recording, right, guys? Anyways, yeah, so like it would be interesting to see, you know, like he's going to come back when all this kind of quiets down and stuff and people forget because you know how narratives go in society, right? And but I'm hoping whoever he runs against is taking notes in the future about all the damage that this man is causing to retail investors. He just doesn't care. He's harming people. Gary Gensler, in my opinion, has harmed more retail investors in this industry than any rug pull has ever done. He's probably harmed more people than SBF has, to be honest with you. He's cost a lot of people a lot of money, and he continues to do it. So, yeah, he is the worst person in the crypto industry that has ever seen. So anyway, hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back for a live stream in a few hours, so make sure you're here for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.